Hello, everybody. Anime Reflux. Jojo.
Dun 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 dun. Yeah. Uh, Jojo's Bizarre Adventure this time.
Yeah.
Parte uno.
Well, obviously, the first one, we watched the first episode of a show, and the first episode of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is naturally in part one. That's how numbers work, Star Wars. So, I
Ooh,
don't know where
burn
that
from a,
dig came from, but okay.
Hard call outs early on.
Yeah. All
that
right.
decades-old series is really feeling the burn here.
Yeah. Well, George Lucas, dumbass. All right. So,
Oh, we could agree there.
JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. It is a very famous show. Um, Central to Japanese manga culture, I suppose you would call it, for a long time. It's pretty good. I People that pay attention to our stuff a lot know that Zero demanded that I watch JoJo recently, which I did most of it. So I have watched all of the sub. I also tried out the dub for the sake of, gotta watch something for this show.
Yeah.
And yeah. I'm
You
gonna
mentioned
get
this-
I'm gonna get my
you
dub
mentioned this
criticisms out of the
before
way if I
recording.
can. Sorry, what?
You mentioned this before recording, so I was going to hold off on questions until right now during the recording. But was this before dubs were good, basically?
This show came out in
make this-
2012. So
Oh,
after.
I thought this show was way older than that.
No.
The manga is way older than that. Like the manga is like really old, and it's never actually got like the closest this show ever got to a proper animation before this show was an OVA that started with part 3 and is one of the worst beautiful messes out there.
Hmm.
Yeah, so this was after dubs were of, let's say, acceptable quality, generally speaking.
There's a
And
really bad dub out there, basically, so go find it.
this one is not so great. Like, you've got Johnny Young Bosch as Jonathan Joestar, trying to do an English accent, and not doing great at that. Alongside 90% of the rest of the cast also trying to do an English accent and not doing a great job of that. I have seen snippets of the dub for part 2 where they also did attempts at proper accents for whatever the characters would actually have. Like, I think Caesar has an Italian accent, and that also wasn't good. But I will say, one fucking standout performance was Patrick Seitz as Dio. He did a fantastic job. It's just a tragedy no one else could seem to meet his particular skill at that level of
The
performance.
accents, are they so bad you hate them, or are they not quite bad enough that you do appreciate the effort?
Some of them are generic English Cockney, and it's, if there's one accent that Americans tend to be okay at, it's that one. You're alright, governor, and all that shit. Yeah, they can kind of pull that off if they really try. Trying to do upper crust English accents are a little bit beyond you guys, it seems, sometimes.
Pretty much, yeah.
And it's especially beyond Johnny Young Bosch because he constantly lapses back into American, and it's not good. Yeah. So just thought I'd throw that out there at the top of the show, because that's the new stuff for me. Is I wish the dub was better for this, but Patrick Seitz is amazing. Like
I'll
everyone
have to
knows
look
the
up his dub lines or something like that.
like
After
everyone
this.
knows the you thought your first kiss was going to be with Jojo, but it was I, Dio. Yeah, that's still fucking great, and that's what I'm talking about. That guy's performance is fantastic.
I didn't realize that happened in episode 1. I thought that was a line from like way into the series. I didn't
Yeah,
expect that to happen.
no. Um. So I guess we should get to the summary. There's not much summary to some, but you know, we could probably just knock that out. So, episode opens with there's a carriage that's fallen off of a cliff, and there's a dude, and he's probably dead. And there are two scavengers, let's call them, picking them for valuables. And the woman of the two is like, hey, the lady's dead, but there's a baby, and that's alive. And the dude's like, yeah, it'll die soon anyway, who cares? I'm going to steal this guy's wedding ring. And ooh, what's this briefcase? It has a weird mask in it. I can't sell that. Fuck it. But it turns out that the dude is not dead. The guy that was in the crash is not dead. So grabs him by the wrist. Is like, oh, you kind soul, thank you for coming to help in our time of most direst need. And such upper crust English pontifications on his most tragic of circumstances.
Did your version of this episode, the dub, did it censor this? Because like some of the people in this crash are clearly dead. Like the woman is impaled in wooden spikes. The horses are just
The
broken.
driver is super dead.
I wasn't paying that much attention. I already watched the show, so I wasn't
fair
paying
enough.
a special attention to details.
Jojo comes from a time in Shonen Jump where ultra violence was totally fine.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it's still not entirely not fine. Like, in manga at least, it's still more or less you get that kind of thing sometimes. Just anime adaptations just don't do that. That's all.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
like
like-
it was considered a shonen manga that did some pretty grisly things.
Like,
So-
fucking just saying One Piece has a guy have a hole punched through him and you see the fist going through. Yeah. So they get away with it sometimes still. Yeah. So upper crust guy is like, I'm George Joestar because I have to have a name that starts in J. And just whatever you need, just I'm in your debt. So apparently they go along with this whole savior shtick for some reason.
And don't immediately cash out that favor for cash rewards.
Yeah, that always bothered me too, but the excuse that certain people usually give me when I bring up such things about the early parts of JoJo is that this was him learning how to write a story. So, yeah. Okay.
No, I suppose that's fair. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Isn't that right,
The-
Zero?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The parts get substantially more complicated as they get on. I will say it's bizarre. This story is bizarre. Just don't worry about it. It's fine.
Yeah, so we get a bit of back and forth for a little bit of about 12 years later, little Jojo, baby Jojo, Jonathan Joestar is all grown up, or partially grown up because he's 12. And he's like a happy-go-lucky kid who is very well off and he has a pet dog and he has shit manners. and he goes and fights some dudes that are picking on a girl because she's middle class, I think, was the implication, because her dad's a doctor. And he gets the shit kicked out of him because they realize he's a Joe Star, which means he's a toff. So, fuck him, basically. Toff means rich person.
We got that, yeah.
Yeah, I thought... help out. And he's like, I didn't jump in to protect you. I jumped in to protect you. Because I'm a gentleman. That also didn't make much sense.
He jumped in to project his own ideal of himself. It wasn't for her. It was to jump in to save the maiden. She, as a person, didn't matter.
Yeah, which means he doesn't quite seem to grasp what a gentleman is, but
he's
12.
Trying to be the ideal, yeah.
Yeah. So...
he's a rich 12-year-old. I mean, what do you expect actual deeper thoughts from a spoiled brat like him?
Yeah, that's fair. So, he goes home and stuff. And meanwhile, during all of this, Dio Brando, the son of the looter, they're both living in squalor for some reason. Again, the favor thing that could have just... but whatever.
I mean, the reason they're there is pretty obvious. The dad probably spent all their money on alcohol, and probably alcohol.
So, Dio has to look after his very sick and drunken dad. Doing so by playing chess at a pub, which is apparently a thing that happens. At a working class pub? Not entirely sure. It's Japan, they don't really... Okay, if I pick at all the holes, we're going to be here all day. So...
it was a bad idea to use chess. A game of chance for money in a bar is completely understandable, but not chess.
Yeah,
the
I
chess
can
was
play
just
darts.
to make Dio look more impressive.
Yeah.
It just is. It's supposed to make Dio look more intelligent, which I guess it worked. I don't know.
I mean, they showed him as intelligent at the beginning. Well, at the beginning of this section, when they had him just reading a book and not paying attention to his sick dad, like trying to better himself by improving his intellect, and then they could have shown he's also kind of physically able in a game of skill. Also, that might have sold the message a little. Again, if I pick at all the holes, I can't do that. So he wins a game of chess, and the loser is a sore loser and slams his face into his food. So yeah, and Dio almost grabs his fork to stab the guy, but refrains. Again, for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to say something?
No, I'm good.
Yeah. All right. So Brando Senior is on his deathbed. He's like, "Take this letter to the Joe Stars. This is your big chance to have a better life and such." And he dies, and Dio's like, "Ah, fuck you, dude," and spits on his grave. And then we get back to Jonathan, who's coming home from getting his ass kicked. And a carriage pulls up with flamboyant Dio jumping out of the carriage and posing after throwing his luggage on the floor.
This is the first Jojo moment in the episode.
Yeah.
The sound effects that are visual.
Yep. It sets the tone for the rest of the series, plural series. So, yeah, okay. This is how we doing. Okay.
and then 20 seconds later we set another tone. This is the first time I've actually sat down and watched a JoJo, but I have heard the dogs get the shit beat out of them.
And it's always funny because everybody's like, why do you hate dogs? He's just like, I don't hate dogs. I love dogs. So the villains always hurt the dogs because that's the most evil thing I can imagine.
That is surprisingly pure, actually.
Yeah. So yeah,
What his reasoning was.
Jojo's all friendly and he's like, "Hey, you're Dio, right? This is cool. I'm Jojo. Oh, and this is my dog, Danny. Say hi, Danny." And Dio kicks it in the face.
Knees him in the face.
Yeah, he knees the dog.
So, yeah. At this point, the dad comes out and he's like, "Yeah, sorry. The dog jumped at me and I reacted on instinct. That's my bad." And it's like, "Okay, all right. So Dio's going to be living here. I want you to treat him like my own son." So, yeah. Jojo tries to help him with his bag, and Dio grabs him and puts him in basically a chokehold kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And is like, "Yeah, you don't touch my things. Ever. Also, I'm going to systematically destroy your life. I didn't kick the dog because it was instinct. I kicked it because I fucking hate dogs. And I hate the stupid people that have them." Basically.
Is it wrong that I was actually kind of more of a fan of Dio for most of this episode than I was of JoJo?
He's a fan favorite for a reason.
Yeah.
I didn't like the dog kicking for obvious reasons, but like I can respect the drive it takes to get where he did in life.
Sure. So, yeah. Cue about 10 minutes of the systematic destroying of Jojo's life. Jojo does poorly in his academics. He has poor table manners. Dio is good at academics and has impeccable manners. So his dad starts looking down on Jojo. And Jojo gets into what might turn into a relationship between him and blonde girl, Erina. And then Dio shows up and is like, "Hey, you've been spending a lot of time around Jojo, haven't you? He's been happy recently."
Yeah, not miserable.
Can't have that. Grabs her and kisses her. And is like, "Zero, do you want to do the line?"
The Kono Dioda!
Yeah. Or again, in English, "You thought your first kiss was going to be with Jojo, but it was I, Dio." It's a good line.
It is. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. And it turns out she was not very receptive to the kiss and decided to wash her mouth out with muddy water from a puddle immediately afterwards, even though there's a stream nearby, which, as insults go, it's not actually an insult, because that's not something you do just because you want to get back at someone. That's something you do when you literally genuinely feel like you need to wash your mouth out with something and you don't care what it is, but it needs to happen now.
But, you know, Dio with his fragile ego
He's
insulted by this, yes.
Oh, and I missed the part where Dio beats Jojo in a boxing match. And then says he's a snitch.
Don't tell him any secrets. He can't keep a secret.
Yeah. And then everyone calls him a snitch. which I looked it up, by the way, and Snitch is actually from the 17th century. I didn't realize that, and I thought that was actually a much more modern word and a more American word, frankly, but turns out no. So,
Huh.
I was very surprised by that. Like,
Yeah, me too.
I'm familiar with other terms for the same thing. A grass is usually what people call them here, but so yeah. At that point, Erina can't be, she can't stand to be around Jojo anymore for the shame of disgusting Dio and the memory of that because Dio's gross. Which, yeah. Anyway, what happened next? Was it the dog thing? No, it was the part where I think Jojo finds out about the whole kiss thing or something, and he beats the shit out of Dio and actually wins a fight, sort of. Kind of even, actually.
Dio!
Yeah. And so in revenge, Dio puts Danny the dog in the incinerator.
Arranges it so he's burned alive. Yeah, it's pretty fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm gonna say at this point, this is a pretty effective setup for a rivalry and just setting these characters up to be nemesis.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
For generations, even.
Fucking part 3 was garbage. Anyway. That's gonna get me some flack. So, that's pretty much the end of the episode, more or less. Oh, and during the fight, they got some blood on the mask and it sort of teeth.
Activated, I guess you'd call it.
Yeah.
And yeah, Danny gets buried, and 8 years pass. There's a time skip right at the end of the episode, and that's the end of the episode. And then Roundabout plays, and it's pretty good. It's a good song.
So, back when I was... Yeah?
Does Speedwagon exist in this series? This
Yes.
part?
Yes.
Or is that
Speedwagon is his part.
He comes in,
and
I
then
think in
part
episode
2.
3, I want to say.
Cool.
When I was first... Like, for a long time, my friends were talking about JoJo, and I couldn't understand what the hell they were talking about. And then they forced me to get into JoJo. And...
That seems to be how it happens in my experience, by the way.
Yes. I ended up going through JoJo originally by reading the manga, which is a mess, just artistically. But I somehow made it through. I don't remember most of part 1.
You talking like One Punch Man bad or like One Punch Man webcomics? I mean,
it's imagine proportions that don't make sense at all.
So
And
JoJo, then.
But like even worse than the worst proportions that you've seen so far. It is ridiculous. And I made it through it. And then I watched part 2 as anime. So part 2 was actually my first anime switch over, I guess.
Part 2
is
so
really good.
It's so good.
Go back and go finish part 4, Casey.
Shut up.
It's one of the most well-regarded parts of the entire show. And I think it's way better than part 3.
Well, that's not exactly a high bar.
I know, but it's up there with part 2 as one of my favorites. Because it really handles an ensemble cast well.
Alright. So yeah, that's pretty much how JoJo starts, with just unending enmity and just the raising of stakes in this little conflict. Then it takes an odd turn in the next episode, but that's fine.
I got a random number generator up if you want to.
Oh, thank you. I should probably get the anime document up now that you mention that thing. No. I'll get the most recent one that I can find that Patient sent me.
Yeah, since I thought this series was older, like the anime of it, obviously, I expected this episode to be aged, but no, it's just straight up good.
Yeah, and I've talked about this before, but the color work on it is phenomenal.
Very true. Dio's eyes are very striking. I don't know of anything else in the episode is that shade of like violent amber.
Interestingly put. We gone through all of the. Oh, those are the cues. He's gotten rid of the cues. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. So we got the roll on the roll.
What are the two numbers?
We need 26 is the first.
Gotcha. That's just a 6. That doesn't help. There we go. 16.
16. And
What do we got?
14, 15, 6. That's P. P. It's 57. There are less than 57 because we've done some before, but we'll just roll 57. If we get a double, I'll just,
We're well below that, so I think we're safe at a 30.
30 is okay.
What do we got?
Found it. I'm surprised I kind of sort of held that note for that long. Polar Bear Cafe. It's about a cafe. It's surprisingly not about a cafe where the waitresses dress as polar bears or just have polar bear ears. It is a cafe run by a polar bear and seemingly a panda and a penguin. A bit geographically jumbled there, but okay.
According to the description on Crunchyroll, Polar Bear's Cafe revolves around a Canadian white bear that quits his boring job and starts a cafeteria near a zoo.
Mm-hmm. He loves telling tall tales and always brags about himself. According to him, he was picked up by a human couple who owns a diner while he was drifting around on an iceberg. Oh shit, it's the Coca-Cola bear! No, wait, I'm getting confused. It's not the Coca-Cola bear, it's that other one that got trapped on the iceberg that's used for, global warming is a thing. It's that guy. Glad he turned his life around. That was a bad situation he was in.
Yeah, he was saved, obviously.
Yeah. Though he has lost all contact with his Canadian family, he has discovered a new home in serving the diner's clientele, thanks to the kind couple. His cafe is an embodiment of his personality. The place is always packed with many regulars, animals, and humans who are drawn by his charismatic magnetism. Okay. What?
Sure, why not?
Let's do this.
All right.
I'm hoping this is silly and funny and not utterly boring.
We can't veto it. We literally can't. So yeah, we're doing this.
That's a fair way to put it. I was just trying to convey that I'm not against this. I'm actually kind of looking forward to it. It seems a little silly and lighthearted. I like that.
You're a little more optimistic than I am, but sure, it doesn't seem overly offensive to the sensibilities. So. Someone needs to check the episode length, just in case.
Oh, right.
Schwa.
Schwa.
I don't know why I'm doing this. You guys' internet is probably way better than
I
mine.
can't because it would be on audio.
I'm doing it right now. Also, so
The video times out. It says, "Oh my god, the link died." It actually says
it's
that.
full length.
Full length.
Oh, sweet.
Okay,
Okay.
cool.
I'll have to find somewhere else to watch it.
So we're watching it. There are mirrors, by the way, below the video. There's a second mirror.
Yeah, those don't actually work.
They do.
I don't know why. Yeah, no, I click it and the
Oh,
video
in this
just
case, they're
stays
both
the
broken.
same.
Yes, you're correct.
Oh,
Yeah. So, oh well. Yeah, I guess we're watching a show about the Coca-Cola polar bear and his panda friend and that penguin from Evangelion.
pen.
Sure. I couldn't think of a thing for the panda bear. Kung Fu
I can't
Panda.
think of anything either. Yeah, sure, let's go with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He even runs a cafe in like the first movie, so there you go. Or
He
his
was
dad does,
inspired.
at least.
This is a prequel.
The
Totally.
prequel to Kung Fu Panda.
And the geography of this is just all over the place.
When did this show come out? I'm curious. 2012. It does not look 2012. But alright. Call it traditional style animation. Yeah, so Polar Bear Cafe. This is the thing we're doing next week.
So hey, look forward to it.
Yeah. It will be Jojo, but that's not always a bad thing. I mean, part 3 happens. Yeah, at this point, I was just kind of beating a dead horse with that whole just shitting on part 3, aren't I?
Yeah,
A
you
little,
kind of
but
are.
it's amusing.
Kind of like the first season of part 3. So, yeah, that was Anime
There you go.
Reflux. We'll be back with the other
See ya.
show next week. Bye, everybody. Part 3 shit.